Discord is currently undergoing its most significant identity shift since its inception, moving away from the era of relative anonymity. The platform is rolling out a teen by default architecture globally in March next month, 2026. Emily, this is really interesting, isn't it? It seems to be applying the strictest regional laws like the UK's Online Safety Act to its entire global user base. This is the sort of Brussels effect, where one region's regulations become the global standard. Does it unnecessarily erode privacy for users in less regulated jurisdictions?
It is a very interesting approach, and I think a lot of the larger scale tech platforms are facing these dilemmas, and particularly backfilling security and identity checking is a huge cultural challenge, I think, for a mature platform like Discord, which has its roots in the gaming community and a lot of communities that really value that sort of online identity. So the Brussels effect means, as you say, sort of taking the highest bar of regulation and applying that globally. And we've actually seen that a lot in tech regulation through, say, general data protection regulation. Actually, companies are trying to comply with that, and that goes across the world, even outside of the jurisdiction. And I think that the teen by default is a very uncomfortable backfill for a very libertarian type of environment. And of course, there's a huge backlash from the users of Discord.
Yeah, talking about the backlash, Alice, here's a low ball for you. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF, have raised concerns that facial age estimation tools are often underperform for people of colour and non-binary individuals. There's one for you to ponder. From a policy standpoint, what recourse do users have when these automatic gates sort of fail? Does this create a sort of verification tax where certain groups are forced to go through, give up more privacy on the one hand and just more hassle on the other?
So there's sort of two issues here. There's one which is the training data, as it were, for what is now a lot of automated and AI technology and verification being biased towards particular demographics and it not being representative of the full human population. But there's also a separate issue, which is the issue of marginalised groups on Discord. And for a lot of people who are queer, or people who, for good reasons, wish to remain anonymous online, for example, scam baiters, who we work with a lot, Discord is a really useful platform because they don't have to provide their real name. They don't have their real name somewhere on a database that could theoretically be accessed by bad actors. So Discord, I feel like the Online Safety Act has really raised a lot of very key issues in this sort of discussion, because it's like you set out to make something like Discord without thinking about criminals and that it's going to be facilitating a lot of harm. You just think this is going to be really nice, and there's all these legitimate reasons for maintaining anonymity. And what's been happening, obviously, in the last 24 hours, there was a bug that sort of made everyone teen by default, made it so that you have to verify using one of these AI third-party verification tools.
I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Emily, Alice has raised a number of I don't quite know how I feel about being teen by default. There's a big part of me that, wishes I was younger again. But does this signal the end of the pseudonymous internet? What are the long-term implications for, the people hiding their identity, using these massive sort of outreach servers and communication channels for things like political dissent and whistleblowing as a safe space?
It's really, it throws it into sharp relief, because what happens when we get technology to implement policy is we end up with a very rigid system we as humans are really good at handling exceptions based on, well, the policy becomes ridiculous in this scenario. So do you want age verification to keep young children safe? Yes, absolutely. Do you want scam baiters to have their real identity revealed and put their children at risk of harm? Oh no! Do you want everybody to have their private data leaked to the whole wide world and put them at risk? No, I don't. So we're asking technology to make very nuanced decisions, and because that's combined with hyperscale, you have to make very broad decisions that have ridiculous outcomes. And I think part of what Discord is having to grapple with, and you're seeing it's constantly updated FAQs at the moment, frequently asked questions, is that its demographics are particularly sensitive to this sort of intervention. Particularly, I think we're going to come on to the choice of third-party operators that Discord has made and the links with controversial figures like Peter Thiel and other companies he's involved with. So the third-party operator that they're experimenting with is called Persona. It's partly funded by Peter Thiel, who is also a partner and co-founder of Palantir that works alongside governments. And there's a lot of fear within the Discord community, I understand, that data provided for identity verification will end up in the hands of governments, particularly at the moment where the US Immigration Enforcement Agency, ICE, is such a controversial figure.
Now, as an engineer, we are coming into my passion area, and this is something I've been seeing and saying for 2 years, is we are becoming the new era of electronic government ID verification, and that is now a new market, and it's colossal. And there are first movers in that space. In the UK, you've got Yoti, you've got Credas, and I'm watching their prices in the last few months double because, and their prices are astounding for any kind of seamless engineering integration, because they know that us engineers have all been told by the policymakers, engineers, you've got this wrong, you've balled this up for 20 years, the internet is toxic and dangerous. We know that you can fix all the problems of the internet with Know Your Customer and digital ID verification, and there'll be no problems at all, and it will reduce all problems with the internet if you verify people's government documents. And the few government document makers and verifying technology companies have kind of gone, wow, suddenly our technology, which is really boring, it just sort of scans stuff and does probability weighting, is sexy. Let's charge $7,000 for 100 document verifications. Wow. People will just pay for this shit because they've got to. Mm-hmm. And so I feel that we are coming to this age where these are the new big techs, the document verifications and the big document super banks.
I think we have an example of how inference is not always as wonderful as you expect.
Can you describe
who are listening on the podcast? You've got a video of somebody with their thumb and a smiley face on it, and they're turning it to the left.
They're doing
and
age
they're turning it to the right, and they're getting their age verification of their thumb. It's now estimating the age, and it actually comes out with the answer, we think your age is between 11 and 13. But it doesn't notice that it's actually a thumb with a smiley face. There we go, 13 and 15.
It doesn't say you can't use
the technology. We are placing a lot of trust in technology to be right. We are also, Lucian, you mentioned in the earlier part of the discussion how, as a technology company, you now have age verification compliance burden. So most technology companies will make the decision we made, which is like, oh dear, we don't want to handle people's passports. Let's look for someone else to take that burden. And there's a few brave and opportunistic companies that have seen and seized the opportunity, who've gone, right, we'll do that difficult thing. And they're taking the burden off everybody. And the Electronic Frontier Foundation that you mentioned earlier, this amazingly powerful civil society voice that is currently a little bit out of step with the way policy thinking is going, because they are very much for the free and open internet, for anonymity, for freedom of speech, whereas the prevailing policy wind is, oh my goodness, the security issues are so awful that we need to do something. And the EFF have a "we were right and told you so again" kind of routine.
Yes.
And what's bound to happen is that there are going to be scandals and disasters with the age verification companies. But for now, they provide a useful bucket for people to throw all that responsibility into.
If you're willing to pay a fortune. I mean, the prices of digital document ID and verification, or even smart algorithms that take your thumb or whatever and decide how old you are, they cost an absolute colossal fortune compared to getting a business social media account, for example. And I think, wouldn't you say that the powerhouses, the proxy regulators like ICANN for domain name registrars, for example, amongst many others, are missing a trick here, because they've got a huge community of electronic providers who admittedly have all been in denial for decades about the reality of knowing their own customers, now need to find a solution to know their own customers. And rather than doing this in-house within their whole community and body, we're individually outsourcing, and there's no kind of shareability of resources or anything happening there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Lou. So I think the other thing I'd like to just bring up is something that Alice made. Maybe we got it, maybe not. But it's like, you show your ID in a pub, you show it in a shop, and that's a moment between you and somebody else. And it's like the ephemeral nature of that transaction. And technology defaults to storage and reuse and exploitation, and I can see that there is a maturing in the way that, like, Discord has thought through, well, what do we do? How do we recreate that ephemeral thing? So they're saying we don't keep it, stays on your device, it's deleted really shortly afterwards. So they're trying, and hopefully we will get there as we all learn by doing.
And we let them basically stalk everything that we're doing on Discord, just so that they can keep reminding themselves how old we are.